Get out. Look real quick.
And out.
Alright. So, why am I writing this email? So, I don't mean this in the question of like, why am I writing this? But it's more of, what is your reason? So thinking about the different reasons as to why we write emails. So the different sort of subject matter that they can contain. So, let's see, who's here? We've got Amy,
Nicole,
Jane,
Zoe, Jackie,
Jackie,
King,
King, Danny, Bembo, Peyton, Albert, Kurt. Let's see, is that it? And okay, alright. So, why am I writing this email? Alright, when we write our emails, we should ask ourselves, what reason or purpose are we writing this email? So I don't mean it in terms of like, I'm writing to you in regards of. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about general sort of areas that emails fall into, the categories in which they fall into. So it could be informational, right? Maybe if someone can check the unlocked door.
Nina, I'm unlock the door. Hey, Jackie.
Yeah. You know, I should really start to remember to unlock the door when I come in. But yeah, if you just leave it unlocked, that's fine. So, informational, right? So what would an informational email be? What could be included into an informational email? Like an example, just to give me the subject of what one could be. What'd you say? Yeah, meeting, right? Meeting today, right? And so then you're going to give information about the meeting. Anything else? Policy changes. Policy.
Yeah, policy changes.
What did I hear? Someone else?
Schedule.
Schedule. Your schedule for the next month, right? Things that basically give you information, right? Then we have request. What could a request be? What is a request? Asking for what?
Yeah, asking for the open the door, the open the air.
Asking to do something,
Yeah.
asking for information,
Yes.
right? So it's asking a question,
Question, yeah.
right? Suggestion. Suggestion email.
Suggestions.
What'd you say? Notice something. Maybe you notice something and you're offering a suggestion on how to change something, or you're offering your opinion on something. Suggestion a lot of the times is opinion based, right?
Yeah.
I think we should blah blah blah, or we have talked about it and we think this should happen, right? Instructional. What's instructional? Yeah, teaching someone how to do something, right? How to use something, or the process to go through something, right? Okay? So it's giving steps, right? Instructionals. Whether it's one step or whether, oh, you might want to talk to so-and-so about this problem, right? Telling them to do something. Inquiry. So you may see there's a difference between enquiry and inquiry. There is a difference. It means the same thing.
Yes.
It means to ask a question, right? So an inquiry is asking a question. But inquiry is also asking a question, but a lot of the times, inquiry is talking about like an investigation.
Investigation.
So inquiry is talking about an investigation into a matter. Enquiry is simply asking a question. They are both asking questions. It's just that this one, it's like a formal investigation. So maybe someone says, oh, I would like to inquire you about the employee benefits for healthcare, whatever. Then they would use enquiry. But then inquiry, Albert, we heard that you were sleeping on the job, and so administration is going to do a formal inquiry about your behavior, right? Okay?
Yeah.
So that means that it's a formal investigation. They're still asking questions, it's just that this one's an investigation into a matter, as where this one's just asking questions, okay? Okay? So, a lot of the times the emails that you will be writing is inquiry, okay? Not inquiry. And then a critique, or an angry, or a complaint, right? And I put angry in quotations because why? It's not what? Wonderful? Yeah, it's not polite to write an angry email. Now, sometimes our temper may get the best of us, and we write an angry email because it's maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th time that you've written something, right? Okay? But even when we get to that point where we feel like smoke and fire is coming out of our ears, we're that angry, we should still not write angry emails, right? Because it can damage business relationships. Unless you want to burn that bridge, don't write an angry email. Because a lot of times angry emails end up burning bridges, right? Destroying a business relationship, okay? Alright, so we got Simon, we got Danny, Simon, and are you Sophia?
Yes.
Sophia, yeah.
Okay,
It's my first time.
your first time. Welcome.
We all know, yeah.
Thank you.
So, I'm Matt. This is the class.
Yeah.
Class, Sophia. Alright? So, for those of you that came in late, we're just talking about different sort of topics that an email can fall under, the different categories. I shouldn't say topics, categories. Okay, so a critique. Do you know what a critique is? Criticizing, right? To be critical. Okay, to criticize someone, right? So a critique email would be like, you know, I've noticed a lot of kids have been walking through the hallways with food, and teachers have not been saying anything to them. I would please really appreciate it if you would take the time to stop a student and let them know it's not okay to have food outside of the lunchroom, right? So that's a critique of your behavior, right? It's fine for staff. It's like, it's a rule for students, okay? So, critique is just criticizing someone's behavior, someone's actions, the way they did something, right? I put angry in there because when you're angry, we can critique about something or we offer a complaint. A complaint is an email that does what? Complains, right? Okay? So, you know, this is very confusing because all the topics in this are on the bottom, so. Alright, so informational. Now we're gonna go to the top. Alright, so the first kind of email we will cover is informational, okay? Informational is what a majority of the emails you will ever write are, right? We're always providing, or most of the time we are providing information. If we're not providing information, the other portion of the time we're asking for information, or we're being asked about information, right? So this is the one that shows up the most, so I figured it would be good to start with this. So what is an informational email? It gives important information, uses statements, not questions. So statements, now yes, you can have questions in an email, right? In an informational email, if you want to clarify something and you want to ask the person who asked for you about something. But most of the time it's using statements. What's a statement? What's a question?
Question mark?
Yeah? That's the easiest way to identify a question. It has a question mark and it has a question word, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how, do, could, would, may, right? Words that signify the question. And questions ask for something, but statement's different than a sentence, right? So, So, statement is a fact. The ball is blue, right? So it's giving informational and it's a little bit stronger in tone. You're gonna stay on the floor. No, put it. It wants to be on the floor, so you just leave it on the floor. All right. So then there's sentences, but sentences can be many different things, like. So I'm happy to meet new people. It's not necessarily true all the time, because sometimes when we meet people, maybe we're not happy to meet them, whatnot. But that's just a sentence, right? It's not a fact. And emotions can fluctuate, right? So when we're giving important information, a lot of times we're using statements. Statements are oftentimes fact-based, right? Okay? Sometimes in response to a request, we write an informational email, and sometimes sent as a business memo. What is a business memo? Do you know what a business memo is? Pardon me?
Reminder.
It can be a reminder, or it can be offering new information about some policy, right? A memo is usually when someone wants to notify everyone in the office that something is changing, or there's just information they should know about. Oh, just a FYI, just to let you know, Saturday is a work day due to the fact that we have a holiday in the following week, right? That's like a business memo. Memos are just information given without asking for information, right? And a lot of the times it's just stating a fact. Okay, Rainy. So, in business, it's important to share information. Don't write a novel. Okay? Right? Maybe we've all gotten that email from someone where it includes just a little bit too much information, and you're sitting there, and when you open it, you're like, why? Like, it's just this huge, and you don't even see the bottom of it. You don't even see the sincerely Matt King English teacher, right? You don't even see that. It's too far down, and you see the scroll button, and the scroll button's like really tiny, and you're just like, oh, this is gonna take a while, right? So don't write a novel. You need to decide important information to include. And be concise but not too short. There's a difference between concise and being short, right? So we want our writing to be short and sweet, as they say. Short and sweet just means it's an idiom. It doesn't mean like thank you. No, it's not talking about being cute or anything like that, okay? Short and sweet just means it gets to the point. Okay? So it gets to the point. It gives you all the information that you need. Okay? Now, it can leave room for clarification. Right? You don't need to spell every single bit of information out. You can always leave room for that because, as I'll talk about in the next one, says, trust the reader, but do not be too vague. So give them enough information and trust them that they can kind of connect the dots about what you don't say, but then also trust them to ask if they need more clarification, right? So, short and sweet gets to the point. The other thing is conciseness, right? So being concise in our writing means that it gives the appropriate amount of information. It doesn't give too much, and it's not too vague. When you have too little, it becomes vague, right? People don't understand what you're talking about, right? So it's just the right amount of information. And it's also an efficiency of words. So for example, efficiency of words. What do I mean by that? What does efficiency mean?
done in time?
So efficiency, if you're talking about like your work, you want to be able to finish the most amount of work in the shortest amount of time, right? But when we're talking about writing, you can add a bunch of adjectives, you could add a bunch of adverbs to kind of make your sentence seem fuller. But efficiency of word is using the least amount of words to say the same thing. So you take out unnecessary words, right? So, does that seem efficient? I'm very pleased to let you all know the announcement for our newest faculty member in the position of Assistant Athletic Director. That is so wordy. What could we take out? Think of adjectives, unimportant words. I heard someone whisper? Very, alright?
Yeah.
That you, oh no. Oh.
Okay. So we can make a choice here. Are we redundant in this sentence? Redundant means that you're using things that are unnecessary, that are repeated. What's redundant about to let you all know the announcement of?
To announce.
Yeah, so you could say, I'm pleased to announce our, or you could say, I'm pleased to let you all know about our, right? Because that's saying the same thing twice. I'm pleased to all let you know about the announcement of. Okay, yeah, are you letting us know or are you announcing to us, like, we get it, right? Okay? Of our newest faculty, or announce our newest faculty member in the position of Assistant Athletic Director. What else could we cut out?
Newest assistant.
I'm pleased to announce our newest Assistant Athletic Director, and then, comma, their name, right? Right? So much shorter. Right? So that's what I mean by efficiency of words. Okay? Now, the problem is that when I was going through high school, expand your sentences, put more information down, be more expressive. And then I get to college. You're not adding enough to the sentences. Use bigger words. And it trains you and trains you and trains you, and then you get into business and it's like, cut that out, cut that out. What don't you need? What don't you need? And if you look at some of the best writers don't fluff up their language. A lot of the times what happens too is the teacher in high school or in university will say, you need to write a paper of 2,000 words. And you're like, and so you do stuff like this. I'm very pleased to let you know about the announcement of because you're just like, oh, how can I get this? Or they say it needs to be 5 pages. So then you're changing the font to get it to be longer, right? They should be doing the opposite. At first, you should learn how to express in middle school, right? And add more information. Then in high school, you should learn to cut it down and use more concise language, right? And then when you, instead of saying to let you know, use announce, right? It's one word instead of to let you know, right? And then in college, they should teach you to cut it down even more and be even more concise with your language. Because no one, when they get into their professional life, is trying to add what we call fluff, right? Fluff is just extra stuff, right? It's the stuff that's in the pillow, right? The fluff, the stuffing. So the more fluff there is, the more comfortable the pillow is, right? So in your writing, if you have more fluff, oh, it's a great piece of, no, right? So we want to cut all that stuff out. And then you want to make sure that you summarize the information and clarify if needed, okay? So you summarize everything that they asked about or summarize all the information that you're providing, and then if you want to clarify one section that you find maybe confusing, you can do that and preempt their question, or you just wait and then they ask a question and then you clarify later. And looking at keywords and key phrases is always important. So you want to start off with a main topic. Alright, so remember last week we talked about you kind of have one of the pleasantries, right? I hope that you're having a nice week, whatever it is, you can choose to do that. For a business memo, a lot of times they just jump right into the topic. They don't say like, hello all, I hope you've been having a good parent-teacher conferences, ha 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 ha, right? Like nothing like that, right? It'll just jump into, this is about next week for our meeting, blah blah blah, right? So main topics then need supporting information. So a lot of the times you will say like your main topic, right? Like this email is in regards to, I don't know, bathroom usage, whatever it is, right? And then it will have subtopics, right? Or how about we just do checking in guests, right? This email is in regards to new policies about checking in guests, right, at the Guard. Then it'll say subtopics, including guest ID, including hours in which guests can come into the school, and including one-time guests needing chaperones, right? So you put these subtopics. Then, after that, you then break it down and you start with your subtopic. First, I'd like to talk about blah, 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 right? And then you give providing information, okay? So organizing information is important to help the reader understand your thought process. Good flow, big ideas to smaller. Logical progression. Logical progression just means that it shows the reader your thought process, right? Instead of jumping from one bit of information to another one, oh, and I wanted to talk about taking lunch breaks, and oh, also I wanted to talk about, no, you want to show a logical progression of thought, right? And then important info is supported by details, and don't overload the email with every detail. Now, there may be more information, as we are going to be checking in this handout that we have. We're going to read through it and we're going to find the important information, but we don't want to copy and paste and just give this whole thing to everyone if we're just trying to outline new changes, right? So this is kind of the breakdown, right? You have your greeting, dear sir, madam, pleasantry, your reason for writing, the main topic, and information included in the email. Your first topic, supporting info, transition to next topic, supporting info, transition to next, etc., depending on how many subtopics you have, right? And then your conclusion, your pleasantry, your formality, and then the closing. So, for example, to all faculty and support staff, I hope you've been staying dry in this rainy weather. This email is to inform you about the new change in policy. This policy changes in regards to checking in guests at the guardhouse. Things that have changed are guest documents, times, and chaperones. First, guests are now required to ensure they have proper government-issued ID card. These would include passport, ARC, or NHI card with photo. Other ID will not be accepted. Furthermore, the time guests can visit campus has changed. They are allowed on campus between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. Finally, one-time guests that are invited by a faculty or staff must remain with this person throughout their visit to school. These are the new policies set by the business office, and we require all faculty and staff to abide by these new changes. We will appreciate your assistance in ensuring these guidelines are followed starting from October 30th. Thank you, right? So this is the basic sort of breakdown, right? You notice that I have main topic, then the subtopics, right? or the main topic and then the subtopics, then it's broken down in order. Guest documents came first, right? So guest documents, times, chaperones, right? So the basic breakdown of writing, right? So these are the important bits of information, right? The keywords and phrases. So let's take a look at this handout, all right? I want you to read through it quickly, but the deliveries to school stop there. So just this top portion, okay? I want you to read just this top portion. Yeah, I was gonna say it's getting real hot in here. Got to turn those on when I came in. So read through, and as you're reading through, underline important bits of information that you see. Okay, keywords, key phrases. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So if we look at the one-time single entry visitors, we look up at the top one. Okay. What is important information in that section? Important information about the process. It says there's a visitor. This is a visitor who will come on campus one time and likely never again. This visitor will need to be met at the main gate and will need to be escorted while on campus. What's important information? I saw two bits of information that are really important that stand out about that. Yeah, met at the main gate, so you can underline that, and need to be escorted while on campus. Those are the two bits of important information from that, right? The key words and phrases. And the next one, periodic pre-approved multi-entry visitors. This is a visitor who comes on a campus on a regular basis for school business. This type of visitor must be pre-approved by the host department or division or met at the main gate. So what is the important information there? Okay, they need to be pre-approved and they need to be met at the gate. I also thought that it's someone that on a regular basis for school business. That's not the most important, but it's also some other information that is in regards to that type of person, right? For periodic visitors, we will prepare access cards which will be kept at the main lobby reception desk. The visitor must always be the same person coming on campus. We cannot approve companies. The visitor will need to return the access card to the reception desk when leaving campus. We will create additional cards for the same company if more than one person comes on campus regularly. Examples of this are a photocopy repair person, travel agent, etc. Pictures of the individuals will be required in addition to their name, company, contact person at TAS, and picture. Please submit these personal details to our school receptionist in the main lobby, Sandy Chen, by email at chen@sa. So, what is some important information in that?
As a member in the reception desk.
So, I said we will prepare an access card, and then you said keep it at the reception desk, right? Next sentence, what's the important information there?
Same person.
Yeah, it must be the same person, and then the next one, cannot approve companies, right? The next one, return the access card to the reception desk. Then, I skipped over that whole sentence, we will create additional cards, because that one will be only certain circumstances, right? So then I say pictures of individuals will be required. That's important information, right? Because it's something that's needed. Then also name, company, contact person at TAS, and picture. And then I just highlighted email at chen.sa, right? And then in the next paragraph, I only selected one bit of information. It's the notify the reception desk by email at least 24 hours in advance. Okay? So then the one-time day or multi-day visitors. So this is typically an out-of-town visitor who will need to come on campus for more than 1 day. For this type of visitor, we will create an access card, which they can pick up at the reception desk in the lobby. These visitors must also be pre-approved by the division or office. We will require a notification no later than 2 p.m. of the day prior to visit by email. We would prefer pictures of each visitor. These cards will not be kept on file. So, what is information there? So, if we can look at that, remember, we don't want to be too repetitive in our emails, right? So if there's something within each of these categories that comes up each time, what is it? What have we seen that comes up each time? Cards are where? At the reception desk, right? Okay? And also pre-approved by what? The division or the department, right? So we don't need to, if we're writing an email about that, instead of writing it for each subtopic of like, oh, this person will need to be pre-approved, this person will need to, we could say all persons will need to be pre-approved by their department, right? And all cards can be accessed at the reception desk and need to be returned. And you do that as a general statement about all of them, and then you go down from there, right? So basically the only thing in this one says notification no later than 2 p.m. of the day prior. That's unique about this, right? So, let's write an email including the information regarding this, okay? So, how could we start? We're going to do it together. So don't fret and don't worry, I'm not going to make you individually write emails, okay? I want to together do this, okay? So, just need some WD-40 or something. Look at that. Alright. Alright, so the important information. So who would we maybe be writing this to? If we pretend that this is a policy change, who would we address this to? To dear faculty and staff? Yeah, so we say dear faculty and staff. Then what would we want to write? If this is a business memo, we can include either a pleasantry or we can not. What do we want to do? Right to the point? Okay. So if we're going to go right to the point, what would our first sentence be? This is. Okay, so this is in regards to right? Visitor access policy changes. Okay. Then what would we break it down? What are the subcategories? We have 3 subcategories. So what are they? One time, pre-approved, and one time or one day or multi-day visitors, right? Okay. So this includes multi-entry and multi-day, one day or multi-day. Okay, so then where would we jump from here? The subjects, right? The subtopics, right? So then we would start a new email, or not a new email, a new paragraph. And so how would we use transition words? What were the transition words that we were? To give you an idea. Slide this over. So what could we say? Right? So, transition words or linking words, furthermore, right? Finally, those sorts of things. Okay, so we could say first, and then jump right into it. Let's create a sentence, one single sentence that includes the information, the important information from that. So, one-time visitors need to be met at the gate. Okay? We'll just do shortening it. One-time visitors right? So will need to be met at the gate and escorted. Then we could say what? Next, furthermore, okay? In addition, pre-approved, right? All right. So we could say also pre-approved multi. So pre-approved multi-entry. We'll shorten it down. Okay. Pre-approved multi-entry visitors. Now this says it talks about who they are, but do we need to give that? Not really. So they need to be pre-approved by the host department or met at the main gate. And then it says we will prepare access cards. Must always be the same person. We cannot approve. Is all of that important for the policy change? Not necessarily. If people have questions, they can then contact about that extra information, right? So you can just say, must be pre-approved. Or met at the main gate. Okay, and then please notify the reception desk at least 24 hours in advance, right? That would be important information within that one. Then the next one, you could say they need to be pre-approved as well, but notification no later than 2 p.m. the day prior, right? Okay, so cutting out all the extra information, and then at the end we could then conclude with access cards will be created for these visitors and they can be picked up at the reception desk, right? And then go from there. And then say, if you have any further questions, please contact me at this email, right? So, alright, concise writing. Let's open to page 32. Okay, being brief and businesslike, right? Alright, good. So being brief and businesslike is what conciseness is all about. So A, the section, it says, look at the differences in styles between these two emails. Notice how version 2 uses the keywords from version 1. The keywords are the underlined words. The form and order of the words may be different. Okay? So version 1. Subject, my ideas following last Friday's meeting. In the attached Word document, you'll find my thoughts about the marketing plan that we discussed in last Friday's meeting. And in particular, my response to Jenny's points about needing a new type of packaging to appeal to a younger age group. I think she raised some important issues, and so I'm circulating my ideas on this to everyone involved. Please insert your comments in red in the attached document and email it back to me as soon as possible. Version 2, subject, ideas for packaging. We need a new type of packaging. As we all agreed in the last meeting, my ideas are attached in the doc. Comments, please, ASAP. Okay? Now read statements 1 through 4 and say whether they best describe version 1 or version 2 above. The email is very direct, very brief, and typical of many business emails. Version 1 or 2? 2. Okay? Very direct, very brief,
Yes.
and typical of many business emails, right? A lot of the times you will run into people that are very short in the way that they write their emails, okay? Straight to the point. 2, the email gives more context and so might be better for people not in the meeting. Version 1 or 2? Version 1. The action required by the reader is not 100% clear. More words might be better. 2. There may be too much in the email to write and read in a busy working day. Version 1 or 2?
1.
Right. Okay. Rewrite the email below. The maximum length is 50 words, including the subject line. Some keywords have been underlined to help you, but you need to change their form and order. So, the subject. Confirmation of our meeting as discussed by phone. It says, I'm writing regarding our phone call earlier this morning. It was very useful discussion and I am much clearer now about your objectives. At the end of the call, you suggested a time and place for our next meeting, namely the lobby of the Intercontinental Hotel in Bangkok at 2 p.m. on the 7th of February. You mentioned this time would be convenient for you because you will be staying at the hotel. I said I would email you to confirm the meeting. Well, for me, the time and place is very good. I am free all afternoon. I look forward to seeing you there, and I hope that in the evening you can be my guest for dinner at a restaurant in the neighborhood of the hotel. Okay, that is a terrible business email. Okay? So, our guidelines is to make it with no more than 50 words. Okay, so the maximum is 50 words. Right? Now, if we're looking at all of the keywords and phrases that have been underlined, how could we change it? So, first off, the subject. There's 50 words including the subject. So what do we change about the subject? Meeting confirmation? Yeah, I think that's good. It could, like I said last week, subjects can be sentence fragments. They don't need to be a complete idea. It just has to be a topic, right? So the subject, meeting confirmation. And you could even do conf. Abbreviations, right? Just like I've been doing while I've been writing, because writing everything longhand takes a long time, right? So, but don't write like MC, they're gonna be like MC. Okay, so make sure there's some sort of context. Alright. For the first sentence, it says, I'm writing regarding our phone call earlier this morning. And then it says, it was very useful discussion and I'm much clearer about your objectives. At the end of the call, you suggested a time and place for our next meeting, namely the lobby of the Intercontinental Hotel in Bangkok at 2 p.m. on the 7th of February. How can we make that one sentence? Those three sentences, how can we make it one sentence?
We schedule a meeting on February 7th.
So it's saying our phone call, right? So it's talking about the phone call and it's talking about the meeting in the lobby of the Intercontinental Hotel in Bangkok at 2 p.m. on the 7th of February. But the meeting, or the email is the meeting confirmation. So we could say, this is to confirm, right? So starting off with that, this is to confirm per our phone call, right? Per means in regards to, right? Or in reference to. Per our phone call. Okay. Our next meeting. What?
We schedule on.
We could simply, instead of saying will be scheduled, we could just say at, and then at where? At 2 p.m. The 7th of February. And then we could say, we will meet in the lobby, right? Alright, so let's count how many words so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So 29 words, right? So that leaves us with 21 left, right? Okay, Now, it says, look forward to seeing you there, be my guest for dinner. That's the remaining information. All this stuff about, I said I would email you to confirm the meeting. Well, for me, the time and place is very good. I'm free all afternoon. I hope that in the evening, I mean, it's too much of I, right? In business meetings, you can refer to yourself I once, twice, but don't just keep to I, right? It's just too much, okay? It's too repetitive. So, how could we talk about looking forward to seeing you there and being my guest for dinner with 21 words? Less than 21 words. Maybe when you're confirming, right, you've already agreed on it, so you don't need to say, I hope this time works for you, this time works great for me. Because you're confirming, that means that you said it, right? Right? So then you could just say, I look forward How can we make it a compound sentence? What conjunction could we use? And, right? And be my guest, well that's more like giving them a command. It's not giving them a choice. So, and I hope you would, or hopefully we will have, right? Something like that. You want to suggest, okay? So, and you might join me for dinner that evening. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah. And right? So alright. Now, exercise C, it says cross out 20 words which are not necessary in this email. 20 words which are not necessary in this email. Now, when you are looking for words, if you ever send an email, whenever I send an email, I always will read it before I send it off. Because I have sent emails off before that then I go back and I check them because I'm trying to meet a deadline and I'm doing something real quick and I hit send and I'm like, hold on. And then I go and I read through them again and I've already sent them and there's a sentence in there that has bad spelling or it's, and I'm just like, I did that to Anne I think once, or maybe Carol. And I was just like, and there was just like really bad spelling in one sentence and I was like, no, I can't believe I did that. Because I don't want it to be, you're presenting yourself in a professional way, right, when you're doing business emails. So, always, 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 read it one more time through, maybe twice, if you really want to check, before you hit send. Just so you can check for spelling errors, just so you can see, does this make sense, right? If it's an angry, or a complaint, or a critique email, write it and sit on it for at least an hour, at least. Then read it again.
Yeah.
What I always do is I will type one up and then I'll just save it in drafts and then I'll go back in the next morning and I'll check again. Because most of the time, unless you're really at a deadline and you need to send an email, most of the time an angry email can wait, right? And then by the next day you're like, you've blown off some steam and then you read it and you're like, wow, I'm a jerk. Not delete all this, right? Right? So, when you're looking at things, when you're reading it through a second time, try and read each sentence and say, what can I take out? And the sentence still holds its meaning. It doesn't change it. If you can do that, get rid of it. Unless it's something that makes it a more polite statement, right? It's like this, you might join me for dinner. If you say, and you come to dinner with me, it's like not really giving that person an option, right? So if it helps out the type of sentence, leave it in, okay? So look through and see if you can find the 20 words which are not necessary in this email. What 20 words could you take out and it would retain its meaning? I don't know if I found 20 yet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Alright, 18, 19, 20. I found 20. I found 20. Think about this. Times. Okay? Times sometimes are not important unless it's talking about a specific time. If it's talking about yesterday, if it's talking about, tomorrow, something like that, doesn't necessarily need to be in there, right? So look at times. If it's a generalization, okay? Alright, so many thanks for your email, which I received yesterday. Tuesday at 10:30 is fine for me, as my 9 a.m. meeting will be finished by then. Can you send me the latest sales figures before the meeting? I look forward to seeing you there. What could we get rid of? Many. Okay. What else? Yes. Next. Okay, could we get rid of any more words from that? And for me, yeah. Okay, so from for me to the end of that sentence, right? Then the next, before the meeting. And then that's all of our 20 words. So it should be, thanks for your email, Tuesday at 10:30 is fine. Can you send me the latest sales figures? I look forward to seeing you there. Right? Still retains the same meaning, it's a lot more short and concise. Okay, so, first I'll say this. Homework, D and E, but just on page 33, D and E, okay? Now, questions from homework from last week. Did you have trouble with it? It was the 2 pages, right? Page 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you have trouble with? Page 9 was okay?
Just offering help.
Offering help? Okay. Those 2 you had? Would you like me to? Okay. So, what did you get for would you like me to?
If you like, I can.
If you would like, I can. Okay. If you like, I can. Yeah. Would you like me to? I can. Should I? Okay. If you wish, I would be happy to. Would you like me to? I think should I. What was the answer for it? Do we check? Answer key for page 9. So that, number 9? Says number 9 was do you want me to, and number 10 is if you like, I can. So would you like me to? Do you want me to? Yeah, I think should I would still be okay. Would you like me to? Should I? If you wish, I would be happy to. Yeah, I mean, there's really no. It sounds like you are all using the correct type of language for it. So it's basically just asking for assistance, right? And so as long as you're using should, would, could I, if you'd like, that's the right type of language to be using there. Any other questions on that page? No? And then on page 11, how'd you do on those? Formal or informal? On page 11, number 12. Just a quick note to say I really enjoyed last night. Formal? What's the actual answer on that one? Does it say? Informal? Yeah, I would say it's because it's saying just a quick note. It's being very informal, and I really enjoyed last night. It's injecting emotion right into the email. So it's just a lot of the times business email, to keep it formal, it's very dry, like not a lot of emotion or things like that, and so that's why it's considered informal. And then at the beginning or end, I think for me, beginning. Well, I think just a quick note to say I really enjoyed last night. It could be both beginning or end. So it could be included on the end as like, oh, and just a quick note. It's just like adding in addition to. So, okay. And then, did you have any questions regarding English from the last week? No? Have you tried using any idioms or anything from class? No? Okay. Alright. So, just make sure page 33, B and C. Alright? And actually, or D and E, excuse me, not B and C. D and E. How about this? Choose one of them to do. Just choose one of them.
Okay.
Alright? If you want to do 2, fine. Go ahead.
Yep.
I won't stop you. Alright? But just choose one of those to do. Because they're basically the same thing. Underline the keywords, then rewrite the email, and then it gives you maximum of 60 words, including the subject line. Now, subject is not included in that word count. Okay? Alright? Any other questions? No? Good? Alright? Get out of here. Alright, you can head on out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.